Hello, and welcome to PremiumBytes, where we shine a light on the unsung world of insurance technology leaders. I am Sudhar Krishnamachary, one of your co-hosts, and with Samir Ahmed, our other co-host, we're here to have meaningful conversations about the evolving technology landscape inside the insurance industry. Let's acknowledge it. Being an insurance firm CIO or Chief Information Officer is one of the toughest leadership roles in today's world. You've got a risk-averse mindset baked into the very fabric of the industry, a legacy estate that must complement the modern tech, and a talent crisis from both the retiring side and next-gen recruiting side. And then you got the slower pace of innovation. We see it because we're right there in the trenches with you as consultants day in and day out. Our mission is to deep dive, have conversations that carry substance, offer practical insights, and help you validate and navigate the relevant challenges of being an effective CIO in the insurance sector. So thank you for joining us on this adventure. Let's jump right into our next conversation.
Hey Sudhar, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you doing? Welcome back.
Yeah, welcome back as well. We're in July here, starting our first episode of Q3.
Absolutely.
And as we've made a habit, Q2 just ended. Hard to believe half the year's gone by, but let's do a conference and news roundup today.
Yeah, I think that's a fitting opening for the the July ending, and looking forward to chatting through the conference circuit and updates from that, and then some interesting set of news items. But I think before that, we should probably touch on what happened last episode.
Yeah. So last episode was the last one on our arc on cybersecurity and cyber insurance. We had our guest, Miguel Edwards, on the episode. Fantastic insights from him on practical suggestions rooted in his actual experience. Of course, you missed it. You were on vacation, but hopefully you got to listen in.
I did. I'm somewhat mixed feelings about that, right? One, it was vacation time, so I don't feel as much guilty missing it. But two, sounded like a productive conversation that I would have loved to be part of. But listen, I think this is part of what our journey in this podcast is all about, is bringing in people from the outside with a broader set of perspectives. So I'm really glad that we were able to bring Miguel as our second guest.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hopefully, folks will have a full series, right? So we did two cybersecurity back to back, and I'm thrilled to be able to take more topics and then drill down on that.
Yeah, absolutely, and hopefully we can do another series like this with 2-3 episodes on a topic to keep going deeper, more than what you can do in just one episode.
Yeah.
But back to topic for today, right? So we've got our conference and news roundup. So let's start with conferences. So spring time, right, is busy. Here I'm going to actually just pull up our list of conferences.
Sure.
It's something we track, at least I do, right? Events that I'm considering. And, in this quarter, we had, or last quarter, I should say, 12 events. And these 12 events, they were not comprehensive, right? They were just the ones I picked based on my interest. If we look at insurance broadly, I'm pretty sure there would be more. And these were just, U.S. events. I think I had one Canada event in there in Toronto, but I didn't look more broadly there. So in any case, 12 events in 3 months in one quarter, right? That's 4 events a month, one a week. And in fact, that's how it played out. There's in April a big density, and you can see here even some overlapping events in the middle of April.
Sure.
But we I think between us went to just two events. There were a couple that I wanted to go to but was not able to. So first up, right, is this WSIA InsurTech event, which was in Austin, Texas, um, uh,
Perfect
in
timing for
early.
you from a flight, interesting journey perspective, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, thinking back to kind of highlights of the event, actually, the event itself was not the highlight. It was that it happened during or rather, the total solar eclipse happened during that event. And when I was preparing and my travel and stuff, flights were obnoxiously expensive. Event was in Austin, and Austin was one of the prime spots. So it had a lot of eclipse tourists. So flights were obnoxiously expensive. Hotels were booked up. You couldn't find room, no matter how much you were willing to pay for them. So it was quite an interesting time. And actually, the organizers, they capitalized on it. They actually arranged a viewing during the event at the hotel,
Nice.
on the hotel rooftop.
That's nice.
So yeah, yeah. But the event itself, right? So it was spread out across several days, right? So there was a little bit of a get together on Sunday evening. The event itself started Monday. Um, one track and one exhibit hall. So sessions were in the morning, evening, afternoon rather was just in the exhibit hall, and then
Gotcha.
Tuesday was the same way. Some sessions in the morning, and then the afternoon was the exhibit hall. They did have a few InsurTech presentations in the afternoon, so that was nice.
And this one is again, the name suggests it's really for the wholesale specialty community, isn't it?
That's right. That's right. Yeah. So this event, WSI is the Wholesale and Specialty Insurance Association. So they have many events that they put on throughout the year. This was the InsurTech event specifically. And the first time I went there, just to kind of, so I had been hearing about it from people I talked to, and everybody would say, hey, you should go there. So I
Sure.
figured, let's check it out. My takeaway from it is that it is, in fact, geared towards wholesalers and specialty insurers. So,
Sure.
admitted carriers, right, will not really find a whole lot value at the event. And if you're a wholesaler or a specialty carrier, non-admitted carrier, you have non-admitted business, right? You already know this because you're most likely a member of the organization and participate in this and other events. So,
Sure.
in any case, interesting event. Was fun to be in Austin and good to explore the, uh, see the eclipse with friends. So this was the first one, right? The second one I went to was the InsurTech Hartford Symposium in Mohegan Sun, Connecticut.
This one sounds like you have become a regular on this one.
Yeah, actually, I've been going to every occurrence of this event. First, one or two were in downtown Hartford at the Marriott and then the Convention Center. And then last 2 years, they moved to the Mohegan Sun, which is a casino on native land in Connecticut.
Sure.
Beautiful venue, very well put on event. Those of you that don't know it, it's run by Stacy Brown, godfather of InsurTech communities. So very well put on event, fairly well attended.
And I
Um,
don't see that as a surprising fact that Hartford is one of the insurance capital epicenters. I think it's fitting to put on a great show like that, and I'm glad we've become a regular there.
Yeah, absolutely, and lots of good material there, lots of good networking, right? So split across 2 days, 17th April, 18th April.
Sure.
You can see just a quick glance at the agenda, right? Starting at 8:30 with opening of the event, keynote session, so forth. And then various things throughout the day, I think 14, 15 different sessions.
Nice.
And this was just the main stage. So it was single stage, but then they also had roundtables and workshops, which were more in depth and smaller, groups and very focused on topics. So you can see there
Sure.
were two workshops and five roundtables. So this was just day one. Day two, similarly, started at 9 o'clock, and again 14, 15 different sessions covering a variety of topics, and then similarly some roundtables and workshops, two workshops, five roundtables. One
Yeah.
interesting thing that they did was the day prior, the 16th, they also had a set of adjacent events. So one was around captive insurance and the captive market in Connecticut in particular.
Okay.
That was the afternoon, and in the morning they had a focus on cybersecurity, which
Surprise,
was
surprise.
also fair. Yeah, fairly well attended.
I guess
But
which brings up a point back again onto Miguel about
yeah. Absolutely. I mean, so if any of you are interested, Miguel Edwards from 5M Consulting and InsurTech Mastery, he posted a video summary of his experience at InsurTech Hartford. Very well done. I would suggest you go take a watch and listen if you're interested. Short video, 13, 14 minutes. So we'll provide a lot of good input. So these are the events we attended. I was bummed about missing the Global Insurance Symposium in Iowa. It's also been an event I've been going to for the past 5 years. But this year, just like I was mentioning, right middle of April, there were conflicts, and I could not pull off going from Des Moines, Iowa to Mohegan Sun with back-to-back events and one overlapping day even. I know some folks did it, but it was tough for me.
yeah.
And then InsurTech Insights in New York in June, that was the other one that I really wanted to go to, but ended up with a personal conflict and missed out. But I saw a lot of good, coverage of it with people live posting on LinkedIn. And I hope to catch some of the content.
Yeah, in fact, one of our X2 colleagues also attended, if I remember. I think it will be a good event next year to recap with her and you possibly.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So, would love to
Awesome.
hear any of you that listening in or watching attended any of the events that I shared. Would love to hear what your experience was. Any events that are not on our radar that we should think about for next time. Would love to hear that too.
Yeah, that's the beauty of this is we want to be a source of conversation for sharing perspectives. So we're not the only one sharing information. So any of our audience would love to even join us on one of these episodes and talk about one of these conferences or whatnot. We'll be thrilled to hear from you.
All right, so let's move to part two, right, which is some of the interesting, noteworthy news items that came across our reading in the last quarter. So you got a good selection, I think 6 or 7 different pieces
That's right.
that were worthwhile, but we'll see what we can cover. So let's start with the first one, right? Patents for sale. State
So I
Farm
guess
reveals
we
website
structured
invention.
this right, Samir, that maybe we'll just touch on stories that are generally broadly relevant for insurance and possibly insurance technology executives, and then perhaps do that for as many stories as we can, and then maybe focus on the segments like a PNC and life and health as appropriate.
Yeah, absolutely. So thanks for reminding me, right, that we did want to make sure we bring stories from a broad sort of cross section, not just any one area.
Sure.
So yeah, first one is a story on carrier management, May 16th, patents for sale. State Farm reveals website of inventions.
Yeah, this is a absolutely interesting one, and I have so many things that brewing in the back of my mind.
Yeah. So look, modernization, innovation, these are aspects that we talk a lot about on PremiumBytes here, and our audience is very interested in this. We did a couple standalone episodes, right? One on modernization, I think episode 2, and one on innovation, might have been episode 5. And then these topics, they're peppered through the themes through the rest of the episodes, right? So very much relevant for our audience here. But the interesting thing for me, right, is that this article is essentially a seems like a PR play, right, where State Farm has launched a patent website where they advertise technology patents that they hold, some of them, and they are claiming that they're interested in showcasing these because they're seeking out opportunities to license their patents or sell them even, and otherwise collaborate with people that are interested in those inventions.
Yeah.
But then the rest of the article, it's talking about how they have innovation in their culture. Everybody is contributing to it, and talking about the empowerment of their employees, and so many different areas that they have been focusing on. And then claiming to be one of the most innovative companies in the industry, right? So, and of course,
That's
right, the
right.
State Farm is the biggest PNC writer in the market. So when they're doing something, it's worth noting.
I'm, patents and insurance, first of all, was not a resonance for me. There was somewhat of a dissonance in my head.
Yeah.
And then innovation and State Farm and patents cost the next level of somewhat of piqued my interest. And listen, I think besides that sense of criticism, I think we ought to applaud the fact that an organization has invested in these capabilities, and then they're trying to do the best they can to showcase this and invite the community to contribute. So I would say thumbs up to this, and for what it's worth, others should probably follow.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, we can be somewhat facetious about these things. But in all seriousness, right, you can go actually to the US Patent and Trademark Office website. They have a capability to search trademarks or patents. And if you search for insurance patents, you're going to find a laundry list of tech patterns held by insurance companies. And usual names are going to be there: Allstate, Progressive, Geico, Mass Mutual, right? Like life PNC writers, some health writers, United Health, so forth, and smaller ones too. So actually, they do all of them, right? They try to capitalize on this, but here I think it's the first time I'm seeing a carrier really advertising this. And so, yes, absolutely, I think it's worth noting. And at some level, it's State Farm putting everybody else on notice, right? That you talk about innovation. Here's what we've done. What have you done,
That's right.
right? So
Yeah,
the other
no,
thing that I picked up, which I did not know about, right, is that State Farm has a subsidiary or a spinoff called Quanata, which is meant
never heard of it. Yeah.
to yeah. So look, you hear about Arity spun out of Allstate or Haven Tech out of Mass Mutual, so forth. But I had not heard of this, but they do have one. And continuing on this play, right, of A, diversifying your revenues, B, monetizing your assets, right? So companies are trying to monetize their tech assets, they're trying to monetize their data assets. So I think patents is another asset that can be monetized. So
Absolutely. I think to that point, that AM Best is an interesting connecting the dots here. So I'm guessing AM Best will probably recognize this as one more feather in the cap, right?
yeah, I think in one of our prior episodes we talked about AM Best has launched a number of years ago an innovation index, and they now include that in their overall rating of carriers. So certainly some relevance there.
Awesome. So
All right,
we
so
move on to
what's
the next
next?
one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the next one is, I think if you're pulling up the IBM Watson piece, this one piqued my interest for a couple of reasons, right? One, I'm always like looking out for updates on mainframe modernization because that is in every insurer's IT agenda. So majority of our audience are insurance technology executives. So I ought to assume like there's at least a portfolio of legacy software that you're trying to figure out like what's the best way to, take it through a modernization journey. And the IBM Z platform obviously is also at the core of it. And so this news article was promoting their latest addition to their Watson X portfolio, which is called a Code Assistant for Z. And what further piqued my interest was this chart in the middle, which seemed to say all the right things in my mind, right? So if you go, I think if you zoom into that, I think it kind of touches on this fact that you can kind of use, evidently, this Code Assistant module to do auto discovery, refactoring of the COBOL code, and somewhat transforming that code for better design architecture. More importantly, the fourth one was completely, I know that is the biggest pain point for all legacy modernization projects is, how do you generate test cases? How do you automate that? And then how do you validate that these tests are delivering the outcomes before you kind of deploy them and put your policies through that? So I find this a fascinating visual and illustration, and I haven't had a chance to dig into the demos that they have, but I know there's a site that they are promoting to look at a live set of use cases across this Code Assistant platform. So I'm curious about your reactions, Samir.
Yeah, look, I would agree with you that this is directionally very interesting, and it's worth looking into for anyone that is running mainframes and in particular IBM flavors of them. And I know they have been investing in a lot of tools for modernization surrounding mainframe and COBOL and conversion to Java, for example, through automated code generation, leveraging generative AI.
Yeah.
So this is very much along the same lines, and value of it will be in how well it is done, right? So all these things, they're absolutely in concept, the right concepts and useful, but the space is so nascent, right, that it's really hard to judge the quality of and effectiveness of these tools at the moment. What I can share is that from my own experience and some of my colleagues' experience, there's a lot to be desired still, even from code generation tools from AWS or Microsoft or companies like OpenAI or Google, even, right? That
But
are
having said
spending
that,
big
I would
bucks.
say, there's one company that should be and could be solving and most likely will be solving for this problem is IBM. So that's one of the reasons I'm always keeping an eye on, what kind of accelerators and solutions that they're putting together in the market. So worth our audience to take a look at it, especially that demo website with a Easter bunny on something related to an a home insurance policy.
Yeah. I think it'd be interesting. Maybe we can give a little gift to somebody that writes in where they found it.
Absolutely,
So,
yes. But this is not in any way, shape, or form promoted by IBM. Disclaimer.
yeah.
Yeah. All right. I think the next one on the list is something related to auto, right?
Yeah, most US driver is open to anti-speeding technology in vehicles.
Yeah, this one piqued my interest, Samir. So, from a context perspective, right, 25%. Again, I'm just quoting from the article, right? So, I'm not trying to add any more than what is already in the article. 25% of the 40,000 people that in the U.S. Who are killed through car accidents evidently are because of speeding. And so when you take that in the context, and then you look at this, the Institute of Highway Safety Survey data point that points to more people are interested in anti-speeding, except that a car-centric culture like U.S. May not intuitively want to adopt to speed restriction technology, but who knows? Maybe the generations have evolved and more and more Americans are willing to sacrifice their freedom to drive at whatever 120 versus a somewhat of a guardrails around how fast they can go in certain locations and geographies. So that piqued my interest. Right in the middle, I think you probably are highlighting that is I didn't know about this. This is the first time I'm reading about it. Is that evidently in the European Union, new cars sold after July 24th must be equipped with a intelligent speed assistant device. And perhaps consequently, I guess the National Transportation Safety Board recommended U.S. automakers to install it. So in that spirit, I thought, to the extent that our audience are in the auto space and in the space of gathering third-party data, I thought this article was interesting since we have touched on it in the past.
Yeah. I know. In our last news roundup, we had the article, the New York Times piece around insurers collecting vehicle
That's
driving
right.
pattern behaviors through LexisNexis, and the policyholders being appalled because they never
Knew
consented to
that,
it.
right? Exactly.
Yeah.
No, I think this article also, the title of the article itself, quoting, reduced claim costs. So clearly, there's a value proposition here. So folks certainly can explore this down the line as this becomes more and more popular, perhaps in the U.S.
Yeah, and the willingness of people to, or even desire to have these kinds of speed assistance devices is interesting to me. I know we've
Absolutely.
had, speed governors on cars for a long time, but this is taking it to the next level.
That's right. That's right. So I can imagine a similar to a progressive dongle. Perhaps somebody else will watch another dongle to suddenly then now every car is behaving well.
Yeah.
That's right.
Well, I mean, these will be the car manufacturers themselves, right? So I don't know that third parties need to do it, but
That's an
at
excellent
least
point. Yeah.
collecting of data There may be a need to, tap into the connected car data that manufacturers are providing, and insurers can benefit from it, and yet another data source for pricing and discounts for good driving behavior
That's
and
right.
so forth.
Exactly. Like very similar to the anti-theft device installed I guess a car or an automobile gives you a discount. So I guess this will become another source of discount. So
Yeah,
thought it was
that's
worth
right.
pointing it out. And I know the
All
next one
right.
is somewhat dovetailing in the same PNC space, but more on the other side of the value chain in claims.
Yeah, so we have this article here, Gallagher Bassett research article titled "A Watershed Moment for Claims Processing."
That's right. So full, caveat here is that I think it is a Gallagher Bassett own survey. There's probably some vested interest on their part to create a survey to meet their PR marketing positioning needs. But nevertheless, I think there's a good amount of data collected in this that's worth looking at. And it sounds like this is primarily tied to commercial carrier claims. But the gist of it is that there are significant challenges for carriers in managing their end-to-end claims resolutions because of global supply chain. And what was fascinating was that the data that was collected for the survey was collected prior to the Baltimore incident. And so, if anything, this Baltimore incident should have perhaps exacerbated the problems. And more importantly, this was a global data point. So North America evidently is behind in claims resolution impacts. And across all of the 7 to 9 strategies that the survey evaluated, North American carriers fared fairly low in the spectrum. Again, is it apples to apples to compare a North American carrier to another regional carrier? Perhaps not. In North America, from a supply chain perspective, is on the receiving end, on the farthest end of everything. So evidently, we have more supply chain problems. One could argue that. Right. But nevertheless, in the middle of the part that you highlighted is important thought was to share with our audience is that one, it sounds like digital claims capabilities are lagging and that technology investments are happening in those three areas that particular highlighted article is pointing out in, implementing some sort of an optimization, cost saving solutions, trying to diversify supplier bases, perhaps using data and analytics to do that, and then possibly building some sort of technology-enabled capabilities to do more closer vendor management. So hopefully that's worthwhile for those of our audience who are kind of investing in technology around carrier supply chains.
Yeah. Look, just one reaction to this, right, is that, of course, it's useful to look outside of our own market to sort of gain some inspiration and benefit from what others are doing.
Yeah.
But, realistically, what somebody is doing in Asia or Europe or Africa or what have you, right, it has not translated well in North America as far as insurance is concerned, right? You find
Agreed.
all kinds of automation in UK, for example, that's happened much faster than in the US, and there's some structural inhibitors in the US, and things stay the way they are, and they just remain different. Or you see technology solutions that have been successful in Europe or Asia or even Far East, and then those companies they try to come to the U.S. because, of course, right, it's the largest insurance market. So when they come, they find that actually this is a much more complex environment with
Market.
regulations and 50 states having their own individual insurance regulations, and it's not one market, it's many markets that seem to be one market. So I don't know, right? That's the other side of it, which I just wonder how much change will a survey like this, in fact, and comparison like this, in fact, create.
That's right. That's why I'm saying, and you take it with a grain of salt. But one more data point to make your case to invest in digital technology solutions from a claims and a supply chain perspective for PNC carriers.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so I think that was the last one for PNC, right? Let's move to
The
life,
life and
health,
health
annuities.
sector. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting one. Next one. I'm fascinated by this one. It ties back to something we already touched a few weeks ago. So
Yeah. So this one is Insurance Newsnet article. Munich Re says electronic health records underutilized, but hopes to change that. Anybody surprised by that headline? Really, they're underutilized. I didn't know
and
that.
yeah, exactly right. I mean, as long as I remember, MIB has existed, and we use what we use, but there's still more to be done.
Yeah. So look, kidding aside, the premise of this article is this fact that hey, we are underutilizing this treasure trove of information that can significantly transform, underwriting and risk assessment for life insurance. So Munich Re says, let's do something about it, and then the rest of the article is, promoting or providing information about. I don't mean promoting as in advertising, but talking about their EHR summarization solution, the Munich Re's automated EHR summarizer. And what they've basically done is, tapped into another acquisition that they did, Clarido, which is a health data network that they acquired in 2022. And they said, okay, well, let's get data from there and let's build a summarizer solution. So I think all good stuff, right? My personal sort of take on this is that, and I happen to be somewhat familiar with this space because of some projects that I've done. The underutilization of EHR is not because of the inability to summarize, right? Ability to summarize has existed from even before digital information, right? You would get an APS and you could go to companies like Exam One or what have you, right? That they would provide you summarized APSs to you. More recently, you have solutions in the market that will take digital records and documents, PDFs, so forth, and produce fairly well done and useful again summaries of conditions and prescriptions and severity of diseases, and provide even scores around risk factors and so on. And there are several tools in the market for that. So actually, this Munich Re solution will just be a competitor there with Digital Owl and Friendly and Lazarus and so on. And then there's also been solutions that are pure APIs, right? Connect us with a medical record and we'll give you the summary in API form. So you even don't have to get to a different solution. Just plug it into your underwriter workflow and you're on your way.
Right.
The underutilization is because it is very challenging to get the record in the first place. And this goes back to, the nature of healthcare structurally in the United States, right? It's very local, very regional. We don't have, single payer health solutions, so forth. So as a carrier, right, I'm in 50 states. I want to provide uniform underwriting to everybody. If I want to tap into EHR, I somehow have to get the record from every little physician's office, every regional, hospital system where somebody's health record resides. Why?
Right.
because the efforts to create health information exchanges, and in our last roundup, we talked about TEFCA and the launch of these new entities, the QHINs, health information networks, qualified health information networks. They just are, the health information exchanges never panned out. Each state has its own, and even within that, not everybody participates. So QHIN is very new. TEFCA is new. Let's see where it goes. But so far, if you try to tap into health records, right, the best that anybody's been able to do is when you get an applicant, there's at best a 40 to 50% chance that you're going to actually find the health record through your data source. And if you don't find it, then what good does it do if you have a summarizer? Right?
That's right.
So that's fundamentally where the challenge is, right? That's right.
50% hit rate is not good enough, right? So that means that you're really losing the other 50% for non-database judgment of the
Correct.
risk.
And that's best case scenario. But in practice, the average is probably
even
closer
less.
to like 20-25%. Don't quote me on it, right? But it's certainly less than
although
that.
To be fair, sometimes what they do is they do ask the patient, not the patient, or the applicant to personally go scour and get as much information offline as opposed to electronically the carrier gathering it. So there's ways they get the data to perhaps do better underwriting, but it's just the process is painful.
Yeah, that's right. And look, it's hard to get even simple information from applicants once they've left the application flow, right? So how reasonable is it to expect them to get this hard to gather information? Because, for example, if I'm applying for life insurance, right, and I go to an application and it says, okay, yeah, upload your EHR. Where do I get it from?
Yeah, exactly.
Right? I go to my doctor and say, hey, can you give me my electronic health record? And the doctor, well, it's in my Epic system. I don't know how to get it. So,
yeah.
And I'm being somewhat, extreme here because you do have patient portals and you can go and download them. But then, again, it's this
it also depends
broken
on
process.
There's not one doctor. You might have an endocrinologist versus a primary care physician versus a cardiologist that you're visiting, and where do you start, right?
That's right. And they all have their EHR systems. They really don't have any standardization around how a medical record is represented, and all these things, right? So it's good that Munich Re acquired Clarido, and it's a data network. But I'm very curious to find out how good and comprehensive that network is in terms of capturing somebody's health record. So,
how are we doing on time? Do we have time to cover one more, or we should?
Maybe real quick, one more that we can touch on, right? I think at the end of last year, we brought this story around Ebix filing for Chapter 11 bankruptcy and entering a agreement with Zinnia to buy their North American life and annuity assets. So that story, it's kind of evolved since then. So just quick update here, right? That in February, Zinnia got court approval, and then at the end of March, they actually successfully closed the transaction. So now anybody that was a Ebix customer for their solutions like Smart Office or WinFlex or AnnuityNet or Policy Processor, so on, they're all now Zinnia customers. And it's I think the best outcome in a bankruptcy situation that anybody could expect. Good for the shareholders, good for the employees of Ebix because they're all still gainfully employed, just now part of Zinnia, good for customers, and generally for the market, right? Because if, let's say, Ebix had wound down and all these solutions that were out there just went away or were, cut up and distributed to like 15 different providers, it would not have been good. So I think as good an outcome as one can expect, but strengthen Zinnia, right? If anybody is in the life and annuity space, their portfolio of offerings has increased and they become a very good contender. If anybody's looking for a partner, and they've launched this new line of business called the Life and Annuity Exchange Solutions. So,
yeah. That reminds me to bring something up which we didn't talk in our pre-planning, but it's worth highlighting is that I think the DXC, I was part of that organization, but I can certainly say that there's publicly available information that seems like DXC is probably back on the radar from an acquisition perspective, and that Kyndryl might have expressed a desire to at least have conversations. And the only reason I bring that up is very similar to the Zinnia Ebix case. Depending on what happens with the DXC insurance software assets, we will be keenly watching what that space emerges to be in the next 2 quarters.
Yeah, absolutely. I think anytime there's a distress with a large tech provider, it's worth paying attention to.
Yeah. All right. I think that should bring us back to the wrap up, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. So please share your feedback. What are some stories that you have come across that maybe are worth us looking at, and any events that you attended that we should keep in mind for next time? Otherwise, appreciate you all watching and listening in. Please continue to support us. This is why we do this, and look forward to chatting again next time.
And that's a wrap for today's conversation on PremiumBytes, where we shine a light on the unsung world of insurance technology leaders. Thank you for joining us on this adventure and being part of our community. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, and follow us. Until next time, take care.